I joined the communication reserves in 82. And it's really a plethora of reasons as to why I did it. But the main driving factor was really my level of patriotism. When I got into it, I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And my patriotism grew. And I really wanted to serve my country. The military is an absolutely incredible experience. And it's an experience that you will never, ever, ever get anywhere else. There is a level of camaraderie that I have never experienced anywhere. And I don't think that you can experience it outside of the military. When I was promoted to sergeant, I was one of, if not the youngest senior NCO in the Canadian Armed Forces. So quite successful. And then came that day, you know, and I'll never forget it. You never forget what happens when you go through those types of investigations. It haunts you for eternity. I remember going into the orderly room, and there was a letter in my mailbox, and the letter stated that if I did not resign, it was on anonymous, and if I did not resign by the end of the month, the author or authors of the letter were going to go to the commanding officer and they were going to out me. Okay. So then I go out and I see that there's 3 other people that got them. So there was 4 of us under investigation at the same time. And we talked about what our options were. And some people wanted to quit right then and there. They're like, done, I'm walking out this door. I am not going through this. And my position on it was don't. If you quit now, you're giving them exactly what they want. Don't do it. And you're giving it to them without a fight. And you're giving it to them without knowing who's doing this to you. And I was very adamant that that was not what I was going to do. So the 4 of us decided that we were going to stay. And so I said to them, give me the letters. And I took the letters and I went into the commanding officer's office and I put them on his desk. And I told him I was outraged, that there was no place for any of this within the regiment, and that I wanted to know who wrote those letters. Now, I'm not stupid. I knew the minute that we did that, we too were going to be investigated. I remember walking in, and we're about to walk into the interrogation room, which is a nondescript room. There's nothing in it. There's a metal table, 3 chairs, a light in the middle of the room, and that's it. Now, of course, it's full of recording equipment, but you obviously can't find any of it. But as we were walking into the room, one of the guys stops me and he looks at me and he says, "You're either insane or a genius. We know it's you." And I looked at him and said, "Well, I guess we're about to find out. Let's go." So we went into the room and we sat down and the interrogation started. My interrogation was 6 hours. And eventually it stopped. I think it was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning that it stopped. And I went home and I thought, okay, it's over. This is great. So when all of the investigations were over, we were cleared. I had decided to take a 30-day leave of absence. And so I went to my reporting officer and I asked him about it, explained to him why I was doing it. And I said, is this okay? And he said, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll do the paperwork and you're fine. Take your 30 days. So when I went back on the 31st day, I went into the orderly room again to pick up whatever I needed to get. And on the whiteboard on the wall, it had me listed as non-effective service. So the officer didn't do the paperwork. And I think it was intentional. So with non-effective service, there's a whole bunch of things that can happen to you. You have to do retraining. They can potentially demote you. There's, a whole bunch of, and I'm like, no. So I went to the warrant officer and I was like, well, what's going on here? We need to talk about this. And he said, there's nothing to talk about. That's your status. So I left. At that point, I was done. I turned around, had some choice words for the warrant officer, and left the armory, but left the military. I never went back after that. About a year later, there's a knock at the door, and I open the door, and there's the same two guys that interrogated me standing at my door. We need to talk to you. Get in the car. Here we go. So I leave the apartment and I get in the car with them because that's how they did all their briefings, was in the back of a car, because there can be no recordings other than theirs, all of those sorts of things. You're not going to get seen. So we get in the car and he says to me, we have a problem. Um, it's at the national security level and we need your help. And so I said, well, what do you need? And they said, well, somebody um, is doing security breaches at the national level. And it's a very serious thing that's going on. We need you because we think this person will talk to you. And what we would like you to do is take this person out for lunch, gather as much information as you can, and then that's it. Take them out. We'll give you a bunch of money, get them drunk, see what you can get out of them. I get my final briefing, which is they show me a picture of a guy and they said, remember this face. They will be in the restaurant with you. They have a sidearm if something happens, and you're to watch them for hand cues. If we need to talk to you or get you out of a situation, you will get a hand cue. So watch this person. Then I'm told, kitty corner to the restaurant, there's a parking lot. There's a nondescript van in that parking lot that contains all of our communication equipment. Additionally, there is 3 guys in the van with submachine guns. And in the event that this goes south, hit the floor. We're coming in. Okay. So I go. I do what I'm supposed to do, take this person out for lunch. Very, very nervous because, wanted to hug me and I've got this wire on, and wanted to go through my bag, which clued me in that they might be onto this because they were looking for a wire. And now I'm really concerned. But go through it, go through the lunch. And I was also told during the briefing, when the lunch is over, walk north. Okay. So the lunch is over. I pay the bill. I'm walking out of the restaurant. I walk north. I come to an alley. A van door opens. An arm comes out, grabs me, throws me into the back of the van, and now we're gone. So I'm sitting in the van and I'm listening to the guys talking, and they're talking about the person that I had just met with. And they're saying, yeah, I think they're on to us. The way that they walked back to their office was atypical. I think they're on to us. Nobody says anything to me. And I'm now freaking, right? But that was it. There was no debrief. There was no nothing. They drive me back to my house. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Okay, bye. And I'm now in a level of fear that I have never experienced in my life. For 20 years, I thought I was going to walk out my front, like 20 years, seriously. I thought I was going to walk out my front door and there was going to be a shooter on the sidewalk. But the problem was I didn't know who the shooter was going to be. I didn't know if the shooter was going to be the person that I just helped them investigate or whether the shooter was going to be the military because they had a loose end they had to clean up. I'm Joe Civvy. I'm out of the military. You fucked up my life because at that point I was considering going reg force. Like I loved it. I loved everything about it. I would have moved into the armories if I could have, right? And you screw up my life. I can never hold a government job again because of it, right? That was part of you get kicked out of the military. You're not holding a government job. You're done. And if you take a look at the percentage of the population that the government employs, that's a lot of jobs you're out of. A lot. So you screwed up my life. And now you're coming to me and you want help. And um there was no pay. There was nothing. There was here. We're gonna put you and you're gonna be a carrot on an end of a stick. And we're gonna swing that stick around. And we really hope it works out for you. But if it doesn't, oh well. And I'm a civilian at this point. I'm no different than anybody. I think I was working at Shoppers Drug Mart at the time or something ridiculous like that. I'm no different than anybody else. And they came after me. I was a sergeant, the youngest in Canada. I was very successful in the military. Very, very successful. And I did, like I say, I did all of my courses. I did them all on time. I excelled in them. I had the commanding officers award for leadership. I was the drill sergeant on my senior leaders course, the drill sergeant to take them on the parade, for the graduation parade. Um, You know, I was second in my class in my junior leadership course. Like I was really successful. When you're going through it, you think you are alone. And for years afterwards, you think you are alone. And then the fruit machine came out. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't the only one, right? And then through that, I became more involved with the Rainbow Veterans. And I am so incredibly thankful for those people, the work they do, and that organization, because I have my family again.